take the opportunity to introduce to all of you something that Giuditta and me have been thinking about and working on for a couple of years now and developing the idea. But my own motivation for being interested in the idea of gender, to be very honest, growing up in India, I don't think otherwise I had an opportunity to think very deeply or contemplate about the concept of gender at all through my life. But my engagement with gender came purely and solely through my dance form. I think when there was a necessity to play something that I am not naturally, then you begin to ask the question as to what is the right way to play that character and where do you draw that information from. And it is a tricky thing because you cannot separate the form from the body, and most of our body cues, I think, are greatly conditioned by the society and the times that we live in. But how do you separate this and how do you enter the mind space? So for me, that is where my interest in exploring gender really came from, because even working within the framework that I already had, I felt and saw so many challenges, and I was really curious and intrigued to expand beyond. The second was, I did mention to you, yes, living, embodied, breathing, organic art form, right? But it isn't that anymore, at least in the last 50 years. The fact is we maintain a high quality of the art form, but are we telling our stories of today? Where are our voices? Where are our stories? I want my story here, right, as part of my Patanjali repertoire. So that was another entry point into the interest of using the various, what I think are unique facets of the form and powers of the form. Again, being able to embody the voices without passively telling their story. You let them tell their stories, right? Each voice can tell their own story, which I think is very, very marvelous. The ability to understand that character not intellectually, but through an experience, right? Which is again very interesting for me, and I feel that there is a lesser tendency to go wrong, if I can put it that way. Whereas when you start from here, you're already starting with a huge set of biases that we, of course, none of us can avoid, I think, as human beings. And the third exciting thing for me about creating a new work based on this idea is that I hope for it to be what the rest of it has been for me. A continuing, living tradition, something that will tell this story 100, 200, 300 years down and allow them to inhabit our voices, as against a work that we create to present in a theatre, and then that season is done and then we're done. So these were the reasons for my coming in. And maybe at this point, as Giuditta translates, I'd also request her to share what this project sort of means for her, and then we can talk a little bit about the project. I think if I understood right, many of the things that we wanted to share, Giuditta has already said. So to summarize, what we want to do with our project is two things. Look backwards, look to the stories that our ancient philosophies give us, and maybe if I can add one thing, I don't know if Giuditta mentioned that, but what is fascinating for me, besides the stories and the existence of the stories, is the absolute non-judgmental tone in which the stories are presented. There are no conclusions to these stories. Nobody tells you, oh, because somebody is this, something happened to them, or this is bad, that's what this person is, that person is, right? So, and I think that is the spirit that we really like to draw from the older stories. So that is one thing. And going ahead, it is the creation of material to tell our stories, and also one other aspect that we're looking to do is to look at the inherent sense of gender within the movement vocabulary itself of Bharatanatyam. And I think that's also a very interesting thing for me, because despite having been possibly for more than 500 years predominantly practiced by women, the form has no predisposition in movement for women. Today, men and women practice the form evenly. there is no difference in the way we train. There is no difference in the roles we play or the parts we play. I think that's a very beautiful thing as well. So if you look at the very fundamental stance that we use in Bharatanatyam, which is an Aramandi, it's called a half-sitting position. This is the stance we use. You know, could you assign necessarily a gender preference to a movement like that, or a position here, or a position here, right? Practically all of the basic technique that we use has no kind of predisposition, or it's not that, oh, men learn this and women learn that. So that's another thing that we're really looking to do from the technical side, which we of course have not spoken about much in this session, but to look at that aspect as well. Thank you so much for listening so patiently. I think this was a very, very long session. I hope it's not been tiring. Thank you. It's been our pleasure, and it's probably a good moment where we can take some questions if you have any, if you would like to